intelligent, introspective, culturally and socially aware, creator-destroyer energy.
Did I get darker? I don't know.
My,
a good old-fashioned vlog.
and I'm not going to say in my opinion and do all that shit. These are the disclaimers at the beginning for the rest of these conversations, because this is my vlog. It's obviously all my opinion. So I just cleared off the phone. I spent a lot of time deleting 10,000 photos and whatnot. Free up storage on this phone so we can begin to tell a story. And I think that's what I've decided is finally is going to happen. There's so much construction happening. I'm just going to tell my story. Instead of trying to come up with an analog or an analogy or a metaphor or a teaching platform or an academy or an association or any of those kinds of things, because I can't manifest. There's a bunch of really good looking garbage in that dumpster. Tile. It's mostly just big pieces of tile. I want a place to start stashing shit that I find on the road. So much good treasure out there that people don't. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start like a vlog.
A good old-fashioned vlog.
Yeah, look how big that hand gets right there. Dun, 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 dun. I'm going to make y'all stumble through me learning how to edit and do all that kind of stuff. Like what this video is right here is technically just me seeing if my microphone works and giving me some source material to cut apart and stitch together and to learn how to edit. I'm borrowing my parents' computer, using my several-year-old phone that's about to die, and a free video editor that I just downloaded, and I'm gonna start putting my journey into this other space. See, there's a box up here in the middle of the road. I have to pay attention to what's happening. But when I look at the phone, I always have a tendency to look at myself in the screen and not look at the camera. And I also noticed that I do this on FaceTime. And I noticed that kids do this more on FaceTime, that when you talk face-to-face with a child, they look at you. But when you talk on FaceTime to a child, they look at themselves in the mirror. Which is really interesting if you think about the subtle psychology there, that in the conversation that the focus is literally on you and not the person you're talking to. And how that would probably inform and change what you say. And you can see this really easily with kids when you talk to them on there's like on FaceTime, it's mostly like just like antics and shenanigans because they're entertained by their own seeing themselves, that they're totally disconnected from the conversation. And it's not their fault at all. It's just a consequence of the media. So it's hard to have I think it's much fundamentally more complicated to have a true connection through anything digital like this. But even a little bit of just eye contact, like if when I do this stuff, I need to imagine that when I look at that little bitty, that thing right there, that it's a little bitty window, and on the other side of it is sitting a bunch of people who voluntarily want to listen to what I have to say and go with me on a journey through this weird face space that we've uploaded into. It's not how I don't think it is. I don't think it's a computer. I think we incarnated here, and probably not the first time. There's a lot of fun philosophical rabbit holes that we can and will go down, but also just kind of like a shit ton of cool adventures and meeting rad people and the stuff that just has been happening to me in my life. I get to do and see the coolest stuff. And I feel like that. I feel like when I disappear from what everybody else sees as my life, I'm a rainwater harvester in Tucson with a couple kids, and I run them back and forth to school, and we pick them up, and they've got some friends, and then we live in an apartment complex, and the neighbors see me, but nobody knows really who I am, what I do, or anything. My very big life I've for a long time kept very personal. And was just been deeply immersed in the experience. This literally happened. I was in a place I call the Eagle's Nest because I'm not creative, up in a canyon that I love that's got this beautiful western view of the sunset, and it's on top of a cliff, and it's got these rocks, and it's cool. And I was sitting up there, and it was like an absolutely picture perfect, one of those times where I wish I'd had a good camera and I had time-lapse equipment, which is part of this, because I'm going to bring y'all a bunch of sunsets and sunrises is what I really want to do, because I love sunsets and sunrises. And that's what I want to do, is I want to be able to take y'all with me to go see sunrises and sunsets and waterfalls, and to go on road trips, and to get into shenanigans, and to push the boundaries a little bit, and to have a lot of really bizarre conversations with a lot of really brilliant people. If there had been some type of intention or organization to be in the podcast space for some of the conversations that I've had the privilege of being privy to in the last 10 years, holy shit. My friends, there's stuff going on in this world that is not present in digital media. It does not contain even analogs of all of the experiences that there are to have on this planet, of the ones that I've had, that you couldn't even put into a video format. It's not an all-knowing source of information. Out here is the all-knowing source of information, the trees and the wind and the rocks. And I mean, this is where all the information is, which, you know, I'm ironically putting this into a digital format. So I got to be really careful with language, because language is an incantation that creates realities. These vlogs are not intended to be about teaching, to be about informing. This is not an expert channel, a how-to channel, none of that kind of stuff. You know, people have tell me / and or ask me if I would record something about myself, or my opinions, or my perspectives, or my experience, or something. People have asked me for this. And not like hundreds of people, but a handful of intelligent, introspective, culturally and socially aware people have thought that this would be, it would be worthwhile for me to share. So I guess it's part of my shtick, because everybody's got a shtick. This is to try to do as much authenticity and clarity as possible. One of my many points, if I could say it, because I want to call them my teachings. To clarify, when I say my teachings, I don't mean the teachings that I own. I mean the teachings that found me in life. Like, I have a teaching about touching the stove. If the stove is on and the burner's red and you touch it, it'll burn you. That's one of my teachings, right? I went through that teaching. Life gave me that lesson, and I recorded it into the book of my teachings, which are not my teachings. They're teachings that came to me as gifts, because when you learn lessons, especially hard lessons, this is not to debate. I'm not here to debate anybody on anything. There's a lot of contention in the world, and I got a pretty strong view and a strong opinion. But my goal is not to persuade you or convince you. I'm not looking to persuade or convince anybody of anything. Honest, what I would like to do is find just me. I can just share my shtick, share my opinion and my position and where everything's landing for me right now, and that the magic of the internet and hashtags and algorithms and all that shit that I still have to learn how to work with can direct these videos to people who are already of a similar nature. And I understand that this is dangerous. We don't want to blow smoke up each other's ass. We don't want to get into feedback loops or echo chamber rooms and all that kind of stuff. In this moment, this is coming up, that these videos can serve as a rallying point for people who are interested in this conversation. Because I am not an inventor of any kind of a new philosophy or anything specific or special. I just had a really kind of a good but weird and abnormal, had an abnormal life that put me into a lot of different situations and a lot of different social classes and a lot of different economic classes and a lot of different political persuasions, all kinds of different places. But with this mentality that I was there to be an observer and not as a participant the entire time, which is just a thing about me, that when I'm in a situation, most oftentimes I feel like a witness, but not necessarily a participant. I've been to rallies and protests and the front line of many different battles on this planet. And but every time when I'm there, I feel like I'm there as a neutral witness. And the more the further I travel, the more people I meet, and the more I push my own boundaries, the more my neutrality becomes like clearer and clearer to me. That my neutrality is clear. That there's all these sides and these persuasions, but that ultimately I am trying to find like the middle place psychosocially. Not the middle way in like some type of a woo-woo spiritual way or something, but I mean, that's something we should definitely talk about. But like for me, it's like the middle way between, say, politics. I know both sides of those parties. I've been at the heart of both sides of those parties. And I don't mean in like the political parties, but like people who are traditionally Republican conservatives and Democratic liberals. I've been in bed, in homes, living with and being those two parties. And so I can really honestly and clearly be in that middle place on that subject. And then on more and more things the further I go. In my travels, I found a couple key topics that I think are unifying topics, but that I'm going to focus on promoting that middle place that I have found, creator-destroyer energy, and in a non-dualistic way, that this creator-destroyer energy is one thing. And my favorite analogy that was ever shown to me was compost, and compost is a perfect example, and like the most humble, earthy example of destructor energy in one action, and how it's not a person, it's an action. That composting is an action that happens by the conjoined, effort of billions of microbes and nematodes and mites and earwigs and all the guys that do compost, that turn organic matter back into soil. And the soil is the new beautiful product. Soil is like gold. It's like a pure beginning. It's like the first, like the soil is so important. We'll talk a lot about plants and nature and how these are important and how it connects you to yourself and how you are nature and how you've forgotten that and how you can remember and get connected and turn it all back into one thing. So I have creator-destructor energy action as part of my character, my being, my personality, not who I am. I am not that, but I have, contact with that experience. Another disclaimer, I can retract and detract anything that I want to. This is my life. None of you can hold me to shit. Only God can hold me accountable. And if I'm untangling words and untangling thoughts in this vlog, which is my journal made public, it's not for anybody to unless it's in a constructive criticism. Like, oh, bro, don't forget about the time that you said this and that and that. Call attention to things like that. But also, please just like have some care for me as I'm trying to bounce my way from where we are in this world right now into a place of a physically unified situation. I'm going to cut the video. In me sharing my story, if the internet and its ways can reach out and make contact with other beings who are on this planet, who are having similar feelings, who are having similar thoughts, and who have similar plans, and are willing to take kind of physical action. That's the thing, is I'm trying to get the communities off of the internet and back into the world and into physical, sustainable communities. And so, yeah, ironically, we'll go through the tools of the illusion of Maya, of the system. We'll use systematic tools to rally ourselves, and then to physically get together and not all, like, not everybody in one place, but to like create pods of people who are rallying around this idea, right? Not my physical location, but anywhere that this idea is present between multiple people, they can manifest it.
Did I get darker? I don't know.
Yeah. So let's start with that. I think this is going to work pretty good. I'm quite a gabber. And if this really just goes to people who are interested, holy shit, that would be a miracle.